Welcome back. Teamwork Arts, in association with Consul General of India in Houston, Asia Society Texas Center, and Inprint, welcomes you to this session of JLF Houston Virtual Festival. Bollywood in Search of the Feminine Gaze. Richa Chadha in conversation with Supriya Dravid. Bollywood and the Indian film industry in general is dominated by men and tends to have an innately masculine bias. However, recent trends have shown films centered around women actors and themes making their mark. The spirited and hugely popular actor Richa Chadha speaks of searching for the feminine sensibility and the important perspectives it represents. Richa has a background in theatre. Her major films include Masaan, Gangs of Wasseypur, Fukre, Section 375, and Sarabjit. She's won awards and accolades, received both critical and popular success as an actor, and consistently spoken up against patriarchy, misogyny, and injustice. In conversation with Supriya Dravid, she speaks of her career, films, and beliefs. Richa Chadha is a gifted actress who manages to impress her audiences and critics alike. Having played some memorable on-screen characters in the last decade, Richa has paved her way to success on her own terms. Best known for her roles like Bholi Punjaban in Fukre and Fukre Returns, Nagma Khatun in Gangs of Wasseypur 1 and 2, Devi in Masaan, Zarina Malik in Inside Edge, Madhuri in Love Sonia, and most recently, Hiral in Section 375. Richa has been conferred with some of the biggest film awards and honors. Supriya Dravid is the former editor-in-chief of Elle India. Her novel, A Cool Dark Place, was published by Penguin Random House. We are delighted to have Lonchora as the podcast partner for this session. This conversation will be followed by a Q&A. Please feel free to send in your questions, which Supriya will then ask of Richa. All our sessions will be available to view on our Facebook page and our YouTube channel. Do follow our pages at JLF Lit Fest across Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook to get notified on all our upcoming test sessions. Stay tuned to the jlflitfest.org/Houston for the full schedule and information about all our speakers. In these difficult times, we've struggled to bring to you JLF Houston without charging a registration fee. Please do donate generously to ensure a free, seamless, and continuous flow of knowledge. You can donate on our website, jlflitfest.org/Houston. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present Bollywood in Search of the Feminine Gaze, Richa Chadha in conversation with Supriya Dravid. Over to you, Supriya.
Thank you, Kritika. Hi, Richa. Good to finally connect.
Hi, Supriya. How's it going?
So far, so good. I'm going to first start with, the imminent question. When did you know that you wanted to be an actor and you have a background in theatre? And how has the transition been to films from theatre?
I actually wanted to act ever since I was very little, about maybe 3 or 4, because it's a very easily identifiable profession as well. And I used to enjoy making people laugh by mimicking people in the family, etc. So that's when I knew with a great deal of certainty that this is what I want to do, something in the performing arts. That didn't stop me from having other interests like You know, I was a good student still. Um, I like things other than performing arts as well. But yeah, I mean, I only work towards this with some amount of seriousness.
And how did you get into theater first?
Well, we all started with school and college plays,
Mm.
and those were semi professional as we grew up. Like, as you started, uh, I remember the first thing I ever did in front of the camera was when I was 12 and we had to do something for DD. DD used to have these cultural programs.
Mm.
So, like, our dance teacher had to do some Rabindra Sangeet dance. So, we were in class six. So, three, four girls had to go and dance, and we got paid 200 bucks and one sari. So I'm saying it started like that, and then because some play needed an extra who was still in school, and so I started like that. Well, I can't say I've done a lot of theater, but whatever I've done has taught me immensely, and yeah, I'm very grateful for the time I've spent there.
Let's talk a little bit about the female gaze. I mean, it's a term that's been used in recent years to describe art that subverts the ubiquitous, male perspective. And like many buzzwords, it's also, I think, often misapplied in many ways. What is the power of the feminine gaze according to you? And how would you define that in 2020?
I think that the male gaze is something that's so inadvertent, and the right word is what the one you use, ubiquitous, and um, it's become so inherent in how we perceive the world also, that it affects both men and women, and it shapes
Mm.
our worldview.
Yeah.
Um, in a very broad sense, if we see a massive display of mm, you see a lot of posturing.
Hmm.
It's almost like it's very male
Hmm.
essentially, at least in the animal world. And I feel like everything would be very different if we had a balance. So these attempts are, they start out as opposing patriarchy, but soon they'll come to a place where their own model is sufficient of, like, the feminine gaze, which renders everything more tender, so I'm very excited about it. It's very essential. It affects everything actually at a very subtle level.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
And I
Rejection
think, yeah.
rejection of the female is of, I feel like it's a huge rejection of nature,
Hmm.
because nature is very nurturing. It's creation energy. It's very feminine. It's, in all cultures we refer to it as mother nature, and so I feel like everything is sort of connected. It would really help the world also if, if people don't have that kind of pressure to be male, to be bigger, stronger, be bullies, if the other values were appreciated that much. And that can come through art. It is
Hmm.
happening, but if it continues to happen like this, we'll see subtle changes in how people behave.
And I think it also is something that has to come from, our insides, right? It's inherent in our nature, I think, and it's a lot to do with not feeling guilty about projecting that onto a largely, male dominated, male perspective universe, right?
Yeah. I mean, it has to start from a very deep understanding of the feminine strengths that we have,
Yeah.
and just the ability to sort of manage, survive, and get the work done. The recent studies with respect to even the coronavirus,
Hmm.
how female leadership handled it better,
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
making that kind of point, like it's good for the world if this thing is not working, so might as well think and figure another strategy out.
Yeah. Also, I mean, interesting that you brought it up because they say that with COVID-19, I think one of the largest sufferers, if you put it that way, has been the working mother in many ways, because she's still doing her job. She's also doing, what she's needed to do at home, whether caring for kids, all of those aspects. And
Yeah.
I think that in a way has put a lot of things in terms of responsibility and positioning, posturing in this current cosmos, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is not even going to be something that will be taken into consideration. That's how taken for granted this role is.
Yeah.
It's the most key role, and how just running your own house, and I
Hmm.
don't mean like your kitchen, or just it makes a big impact on how the
Of
world
course.
operates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about your roles. I mean, from Masaan to Gangs of Wasseypur to Inside Edge, Fukre, Oe Lucky, Lucky Oe. You've all, you've played, interesting, dynamic, feisty women who are all, working against the odds in the sense that they're not, your usual roles.
Yeah.
How did you find your mettle in Bollywood? And I mean, also, my other question is like, how do you find the stamina to play these kind of emotionally, physically grueling roles that you're best known for?
I mean, I think I enjoy these parts, and I think the access part is it's also it could also, if you use a little bit of subversive logic, could also be like stereotyping.
Hmm.
You enter with a role like such, so everybody offers you those kind of roles, but then the roles also are interesting, so
Yeah.
you want to do them. And then because people have an association with you, they'll see your parts, or they'll wait for those punches from you. It's an interesting thing. But I think that it's my job. Like I really enjoy it. I'm sure that there are days when your job rolling, and the only I think in this case the only thing is that I feel like different roles tend to leave a residue on the person
Hmm.
that you are. So I have my coping mechanism set for it. Like intuitively, I know what to do. If I need to leave the city and be in nature, I'll do that. If I need to go home, I'll do that. If I need to not do anything and be a couch potato, I'll do that. I'll reconnect with friends from before I was an actor, like my school friends and college friends. So I think everybody finds their own way, being with their families, pets, taking on a hobby that is completely unrelated to this. Yeah.
What you usually do, what your day job is, primarily.
Yeah.
I mean, what attracts you to your characters? I mean, do you also, at some point, like you said, the residue, do you look for something of yourself in the women you play as well?
No, I don't actually, because that's very hard. Nothing in common with bootlegger madman or a very violent, like I'm vegan, I have to, I think more than them, me finding something in them,
Hmm.
I give something of myself to them, so they appear very human. Imagine if I give a character a stutter, or I mean, body language and all are very obvious choices. But if I give them a stutter, if I give them a weird habit that, every time they're counting money, they sheepishly look around, which is a giveaway. If I'll give something that's very human, which I've noticed on someone, or observed, or made a mental note, कि वाह कि ये तो बड़ा character type का है. And so I'm giving of myself and the things that we've seen. A lot of actors do this. They find that one person who has a funny voice, a funny diction, or a interesting body language, or and they'll put insert it into the characters that they get, because what you get are lines, and then people are, I mean, some people are very specific about what, ye hai look, ye hai, ye aise aise.
Hmm.
But many people are kind of free, and they're like, oh, would you like to do this? Yeah.
Add something else, yeah. But tell me something. Do you feel in the business that you're at and the time that you've spent as an actor, is Bollywood, changing, adapting to a newer perspective, saying stories? And you've been a part of it as well with the kind of shows like with Inside Edge and with the films that you've been doing. But do you also feel that it is a small group of creatives who are, bringing these ideas to life, and the fact that also these OTT platforms enables one to take a little bit more of a risk?
I definitely, I think, um, with the characters that are getting written are slowly getting better over time. And if they aren't, then even if it's the same director trying the same kind of
Hmm.
formula that they did 10 years ago and it was a massive success as opposed to today, then the stuff stops being relevant and stops working. And then you find that more interesting films get more viewership. Uh, and of course, there's access, but each time you push it a little bit, the audience also responds with favor. Like, you know, I mean, look at the writing when, you know,
Hmm.
2 years ago, in terms of the shows, and now stuff is only getting better. Of course,
Yeah.
mediocre stuff is also getting better. I mean, getting larger in a category. But, but the other stuff is getting better. You know, people are
Yeah.
pushing it. Performances are improving. Um, there are great shows, binge worthy shows, and beautiful films that are being made. And I mean, it takes time, but slowly it's like,
Also, it's the range of the production value that goes up, right? With something like, I just thought when I saw Inside Edge, I thought it was quite international in its appeal and the way it was produced, the way it was told. And I thought it was quite interesting and refreshing more than anything to see that, look, we are here, these are our characters, they are real, and this is how we come together to create world class content. And
yeah.
that's very brave in many ways, you know?
I mean, yeah, Amazon is brave to do it. Yeah, all these platforms are that are launching in India are always trying to tell very different stories. Stories
Yeah.
sometimes that a film exhibitor might find risky. Stories that
Yeah.
definitely not be on the television. Many of them, some of them won't find a slot or unless it's like a, so I feel like that access is important. Everybody finds their own little thing. It's like you're making a massive playlist somewhere, with all your data searches and everything that you like. It keeps coming back, and people find like minded people with like minded interests.
Yeah.
That's definitely happening. Just the sheer amount of, I mean, right now to you and me, everything that was available on TV is available. Everything
Yeah.
that is available on the big screen is available. But now we have all these OTT platforms to choose from, where
Yeah.
each one has a universe of its own with content of its own and then different countries. So it's really shrunk the world. I wonder what this will mean for all of us in the next 5 years.
Yeah. I think there's also a sense of democracy, democratic access to
Yeah.
everything, right? There's no everyone's on the same level because you have access to just about all the content that everybody's worked towards. Does that mean, is that something you think about at all, or are you, the school of thought that, okay, we have all of this, now let's make it work?
I'm definitely excited that actors like Shefali Shah and Pankaj Tripathi, Jaideep Adawat,
Exactly. Yeah.
everyone has their own fan club and their own really unique and very large following, actually. Uh,
Found their niche, right? Yeah.
Everybody's watching their stuff, and people are watching so much more stuff. Like, they
Hmm.
watch 3 shows a day, or I mean, they follow everything, they're following the story, they're in search of a good story. So
Good story.
I feel like when um, the better actors are so busy that they don't have dates, that means in general it's a good time for
Yeah.
it reminds me of the times that parents were young and they would talk about Amol Palakar and Farooq Sheikh and everybody having their own um, set of audience and their own kind of
Yeah.
cinema.
Their
Each
own move.
was
Yeah.
respectable. There was no, um, I mean, I'm sure there must have been some kind of competition even then, but uh, it's a good time, I feel.
Yeah. Can you tell us a little bit about a challenging role that got you to step outside your comfort zone? And what was it about that character that, I mean, if at all you had a very challenging role that made it so difficult for you?
Um, I think the last, uh, I mean, I played a really challenging character in the form of in Devi in Masaan. That was a quite a challenge
Yeah.
because I'm not so submissive, and she had to be even though she was rebelling. So that was very frustrating for me. And then I think this film I did last year called Madam Chief Minister. Are you frozen?
Frozen. Oh, there you are. Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were frozen. Sorry.
Sorry, go on.
Let it go. So I was saying that the last year I worked on a film called Madam CM, which was
Hmm.
also quite challenging. The politics of it, the idea of it, the just the part also was very
Yeah.
very different, and it's so different that when you see it, you'll be like, oh, ये तो ऐसा कर सकती है.
Hmm.
And yet after some time, maybe you'll realize everything that went into making that part that way.
But when you say it's a little frustrating, but is it also, I mean, when you immerse yourself in that sort of a role, can it be harmful emotionally? How do you protect yourself if you
I don't do method. That's how I protect myself. I mean, if I have to practice something,
Hmm.
like I have to practice walking with a limp, or practice having a
Hmm.
body language or an accent, I'll do it like a practice, like something I do
Yeah.
craft. But and it's in. I mean, obviously, some part of your character will also get inside your head. But I don't do okay. If I'm a clown, if I have to play a clown, then I won't be in clowning throughout the day.
Yeah.
I'll do my prep, but I won't live in the character,
Hmm.
because then I'll go crazy. I don't want to. It should be a job, and I think that's also what keeps it interesting for me. My process is I read the script, I make my own notes, I think about the part, and then I just let the part be in my subconscious as opposed to um, rehearsing every habit, because then I find that sometime somewhere in the past I've observed somebody very closely and
Hmm.
taken on an aspect of their personality that even I didn't remember I could mimic, and then
Yeah.
it becomes something that is so inherent to that character. Or that's fun for मेरे को भी तो मजा आना चाहिए.
Of course. Yeah.
I do it primarily because I really enjoy it.
Yeah. What's the best advice that a director has given you on a film set?
The different people have said different things. Like,
Anything that stands out?
um, someone said that forget about preparation, be instinctive. Someone said, oh, I really like critically acclaimed Sudhir Mishra once told me he's a fantastic director to work with, because there's also chaos, but out of that sometimes there's some sudden magic, and then you have an epiphany. Like, I was just thinking, there was a very complicated scene, and some part of a house was on fire, and you had to escape, and in the middle of that escape there was a blame game going on about a dead father, and those things can get very serious. And so I was disheveled as I'm supposed to be, and suddenly you're like, isko lal lipstick laga do. So I thought all through the film there's never been this, why is he suddenly saying isko lal lipstick? So then I thought about it from a very visual point of view, as well as a very sort of somebody who's lived life,
Mm.
Imagine if I have to have a postcard moment of somebody leaving me, and they look nice when they're leaving me. That's what he was saying कि ये तो छोड़ के जा रही है, अब इसको सुंदर लगना चाहिए. He should realize the full amount of loss that he's had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So small things like that, I think I keep collecting from different directors. Um, yeah, but so far very few directors have actually kept me on my toes.
Yes.
One is Ajay Behel from Section 375. Even though the role was
Hmm.
like not uh, very confident, very combative, it was like a low status character. Uh, he really pushed me, and I had to work very hard on that. Even though if I meet
Hmm.
somebody, they're like, "अरे आपने उसमें acting नहीं की," because people are used to seeing a certain, uh,
Seeing.
yeah. So he really kept me on my toes. Then this director that made Madam CM, his name is Subhash Kapoor. He also
Hmm.
really pushed me uh, to the point of me really wanting to just do well. And then after some time, it was really like, oh, now we can fly.
Hmm. Hmm.
Just finding the correct. Imagine trying to,
That, yeah.
yeah, trying to, do a run up for a bowler. Like in that run up, there's like, so it was quite interesting. And another one was this director called Akash Bhatia. He directed season 2 of Inside Edge. He also
Hmm.
really pushed me and kept trying to add layers. And I
Yeah.
I love working with people who push me and make me really think about stuff. That's very important to me.
Is generosity perhaps the most important quality an actor can have?
I think yeah, definitely. The whole school of thought that things ke main uski scene mein phaad dunga. I just find it really wrong. If you go onto a set, there's a lot of actors who are like, मैं खा जाऊंगा. And it's not a good way to think about a scene. I feel it's very common knowledge, and people will often compliment you and say that.
Mm.
If that happens per chance, that's a very different thing because that's um, every individual's point of view of how they perceive your character. Like somebody may think you've done your best work, someone might think that meh. So that's different. But if you go into a scene with an idea that my co-star, who could be playing my lover, my boyfriend, my mother, my son, uh, my friend, is somebody I have to compete with. Can you see how it can do that? Like,
Yeah.
yeah. If you're supposed to express each other with a touch, that if I touch you, it should convey that we've known each other 11 years, then I
Uh,
feel comfortable holding you like this and say,
hmm.
please get me a bag of popcorn, for instance. It has to have that familiarity. You won't do that to me. So if you go into a scene with that energy that I will be better or I will prove that I'm better, then already generosity for me is the most important. Generosity and a sense of adventure also.
Yeah.
Just be open and go. Being open.
Tell me, what's fueling your creative desires these days in terms of work? What are you looking for in the work that you want to do now? And has the lockdown changed anything for you personally in your, in as an artist in terms of how you want to evaluate your life creatively?
I did a lot of new things in the lockdown, from trying to learn a new dance form to trying to learn a new stick martial art form. Or I mean, of
Nice.
course, those are things that are expected of actors. Kuch aise hobbies.
Hmm.
But I learned how to cook. I mean, I could always cook, but I couldn't cook as proficiently and as fast as I did learn to
Hmm.
in the lockdown. And I didn't enjoy cooking at all. But uh, but I could figure out that now I can live anywhere, and I know the basics of how to. And I'm a good cook, interestingly. I cook well, but I don't enjoy. I can feed people, and so that aspect of my this thing I enjoy. And then I was starting to write something in terms of a script. So those
Okay.
things, I kept myself productively and gainfully employed. I watched stuff, I did gardening, I figured out my house. So
You
yeah,
spend all the time there, yeah.
yeah,
What's next for you? What do you have planned? And after this, we'll go on to the audience questions.
okay. Mm, I have a bunch of things I'm going to begin shooting for this year, and they're all very diverse. One is a dark thriller. Uh, the other one is kind of like a detective story, and then there's the film work that is pending that is
Hmm.
going to come out and release, which I've already spoken about, and then there's something fun like Fukre. So yeah, it's all in a good space. There's a lot of variety, and I love all these people that I'm going to begin collaborating with. They're
Yeah.
all Some of them I haven't worked with before,
Mhm.
and I look forward to interacting with like a whole new set of people who watch shows, who watch. Um, it's just very different than it was.
Yeah.
Symbolism. Everyone's taking writing a lot more seriously, and
Yeah.
So that's really fun. I think it's a great time to be in this space.
In the space. I have one more last question before I move on. Do you, as an actor, know your limits? Do you know that okay, this is what I'm capable of, or are you the kind to say, give me a challenge and I'll figure it out? Does something scare you when
Yeah,
you start?
everything. Even if it's a film that I'm doing half-heartedly, that also happens. If they have that has a scene that needs me to suddenly cry in front of 50 people, it's not easy. It's not because I'm not going to wince and scrunch my eyes and pretend that tears are dropping. It's going to be a very strange, intimate outburst in front of strangers who are holding lights. So it's never easy, but I enjoy a challenge, and I do feel like everybody has very, very different facets to their personality. Like, um, I mean, a full exploration really means essentially to be very open.
Yeah.
First thing to do in that is not to judge the character.
Hmm.
The mistake I think a lot of actors make sometimes is they're like, अरे पर murderer hai. Not so much like, not where um, not where somebody who is alpha and is being celebrated,
Yeah.
but really to delve into the complexity of this. There's two ways to approach any
Hmm.
character. In one way, you can build pathos for the protagonist. Like if you watch a monster, you get the character's journey, you understand why they have ended up that way, and it attempts to humanize them so that more such are not born.
Hmm.
So
Perfect.
yeah, I think that's a good way to approach the character.
Yeah. We're going to go now to the audience questions. Yeah. So there is a question from Kripa that says the male gaze can be attributed to patriarchy because of its inherent inequality. It is a clear example of how we perceive women. A woman can be talented, educated, or successful, but the first question that pops up into our heads when we see her would be, is she good looking? What are your thoughts about it?
Abhi, my thoughts are everything you've already said, that patriarchy is inherent, it's so systemic. You've already said everything. It's true. You don't yourself realize. I mean, of course, there's that biological argument to make that people like symmetry and all that. But sometimes, you know, really different people catch your eye, and it's not.
Mm.
It's also instinct and connections.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this is how it is, and I feel like at after a point things can catch your eye, but to go beyond, everybody looks for something
Like a
human,
lasting impression, right? Like a lasting power. Yeah.
human to connect with. Also, some kind of an honest exchange. Whether
Hmm.
it's somebody holding your gaze.
Yeah. There's a question here from Sanjay Wins that says, what do you think of movies like Thappad? Does it pushes new limits or show feminine intolerance to in a male dominated society?
Intolerance. I don't know if it's intolerance, bro. I mean, I don't think anyone likes getting beaten up.
Yeah.
Uh, it's very simple. Like
Yeah.
people don't like getting beaten up, and yeah, if women are getting beaten up, they'll talk about it, and they'll talk about
Mm.
it emotionally, because first of all, it's a very inhuman thing to do to anybody.
Yeah.
If you travel in the villages now, I won't say which state because everything is so political now, but
Mm.
states which have a record of high alcohol consumption sometimes. If you travel in the villages, spend time in the villages, you'll see a lot of old mothers complaining that their sons, the mother could be 70 and the son could be 50 or 40, often beat them up after
Yeah.
drunk. This is a very common problem. Now you have to research it and go beyond Twitter and Facebook to find it. But
Yes, true.
but this goes against the grain of everything we hold dear, like family values,
Mm.
culture, tradition. And again, now we circle back and come to the lack of appreciation for the feminine.
Mm.
In, feminine gaze would look at this problem very differently. So, I mean, what do you say? People don't like getting beaten up, man. That's it. Hmm.
There, I mean, it's legit. I mean, I hear you on that front. I mean, it's just a matter of a
Like,
society, and that has to go beyond physical pressure to actually exert some level of authority, and doesn't work otherwise. It's just silly. There's a question here that's from Ahana that says, "Do you think that the content of Hindi cinema, or even shows for that matter, may change in a post-COVID era? And do you think the pandemic will have an impact on this?"
I think all the lockdown films are now releasing, no, everyone that made things in the lockdown, rap videos, dance challenges. Everything that was made in the lockdown will slowly come out. Everything that was done on Zoom and it was a new experience. I also shot a short film during this time. I had to do hair, makeup, act, and light up the camera, fix a like ring light stand, and roll sound on my. It was quite interesting and be directed virtually. So the phone was always on and someone was always talking to me. So it was, I think those things are very interesting. Um, I think this year has also been interesting in terms of a lot of, I don't know, it's kind of, it's a very weird year. It
Hmm.
feels like a war year, but it's not. It's very, very hostile. There is loss. There is like a falling of masks. People who wanted to help and be honest have come forward, and those who uh, like everything has been exposed in a sense. So I feel like um, maybe this year will have an impact on this.
Yeah, on our mental and emotional strength, I think, for sure.
And like even within the industry, the strange. It's been a very strange, combative time.
Hmm.
It will also change things.
There's a question here from Ria that says, "Is there a role from your career that you thought you would never end up doing but managed to do remarkably well, or a role that has had a long-lasting impact?"
Remarkably well, I don't know. That really isn't for me to decide. But um, in terms of impact, I think that the last uh, after Masaan, it was this last film that I did again, Madam CM. It was quite a like, oh, this happens, you know.
Hmm.
I really became acutely aware of things like privilege and all because of that. So yeah, I mean, this in the last year, yeah, I've had roles that have left an impact on me, and remarkably well is not my job.
There's a question here from Jane that says, "Is there," and she asks, "Is there an American TV show or a movie you wish can be remade in India, or a project you aspire to be a part of?"
There are so many great projects, but I'm going to say something very niche. Uh, there's a six episode mini series, I think on Hotstar called I Love Dick. And I don't think that it's about art and artists in a small town and a man called Dick. And
Hmm.
it's seemingly about that. But it's the most forward thinking, feminist approach to any kind of. That is something that we can offer as closure to the session. That's very interesting. So I wish it would be made here, but I think we'd be ready for it in about 35.
Never say never when you're 70.
And I'm 70. Yes.
And I think there's a last question from Xenia that says, "How do you deal with trolls when
I
not dealing with them?"
Now I've been busy. I've just moved houses. So I have to unpack. Matlab, there all these boxes. This section looks nice. So I'm sitting here. I really don't have time to deal with anybody other than my cat food and just getting everything in order. But in general, I think the only time I respond to trolls is when I feel like I've commented on a burning issue and they disagree, uh, and they want to disagree after insulting me, which is very funny. So I don't really think about them that much. If I'm stuck in a jam or something, I'll maybe reply.
Mm.
Yeah, trolls are a very different ecosystem, which is not very banal. I think we should. It's all hawabazi, you know. So I think the sooner we realize it, the better it is. Only maybe 1 or 10 times does something that has a really uh, huge social media outrage is for the right reasons. And you know, when you say this is why I love the internet, one of those things is quite rare. Mostly, it's a ecosystem where anyone can say anything. It's become very easy, so I don't think about it. But thanks for asking.
There is one last question here from Vidya. Is the audience finally okay with married actresses? Why do you think married actresses struggled a lot to get roles or perhaps good roles?
I don't know if they did earlier, like when I think of actresses like in the past, like
Hmm,
Malini or Madhubala, or I feel like only in the middle it became a thing that you should not be married. And that doesn't make sense to me because really, man,
hmm.
the actress is not going to marry you. It's very different. That whole mindset I don't get that she must seem available to the audience. Uh, I don't get it. Maybe some people get it, but I think that now in this time it's a very earlier people would also be quiet about their relationships. Now no one is. So
Hmm.
I think that
And for good reason, they're living their life. And
yeah,
yeah,
because
why not?
everyone's become accessible via social media. There's
Yeah,
no longer that mystery. Oh, who are they meeting? Where are they going? There's everyone knows everything all the time. Maybe that
exactly. Yeah,
when it's so hard to hide, no one's pretending to him.
yeah.
I've also grown up.
Well, let's hope that they are. Yeah, but I agree. But anyway, thank you so much, Richa. This has been fun. Over to you, Kritika.
Thank you, everyone that asked questions. Also, thank you. I hope I answered them adequately, and
Yes.
thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you, Richa and Supriya, for that beautiful conversation. Thank you, Richa, for giving us an insight into your career and life. Thank you all for watching and being a lovely audience. We encourage you all to buy the books of our speakers that are available through Brazo's bookstore and Full Circle. Once again, we'd like to thank all our advisors, donors, and partners for generally supporting the festival. We hope you all have enjoyed the conversation and will tune in for our next session, Myth and Modernity. Amish and Chitra Banerjee Divakuruni in conversation with Vayu Naidu at 12:15 p.m. CST, 10:15 a.m. PST, 11:15 a.m. MST, 1:15 p.m. EST, and at 11:45 p.m. IST. Thank you once again. And now we present a reading by Urna Bose from the Jaipur Writers Short Series.
Hello, all you lovely people and beautiful friends. My name is Urna Bose, and today I'll be reading my poem, Let's Go Someplace Else Then, for all of you guys here. Let's go someplace else then. Well, yes, we can't go outside. But hey, maybe it's time to go inside, to a place called within. A place that you don't need bags, tickets, passports, cabs, trains, and planes to travel to. No face masks and sanitizers. But you do need a sturdy, steely will, a handful of patience, some classic old-fashioned surrender and wanderlust of a different kind. To explore and discover your mind, your heart, your consciousness. Your individualistic choices, filters, triggers. your gospel truths, your unflinching realities, your sky and what sets you free, your rivers and what makes you flow, your earth and what keeps you grounded, your roots and what gives you sustenance, your ocean and the vastness of everything you've seen, felt, acted upon so far. That universe that's right within you. To peel back the layers and discover who is this person you've been living with for the longest. This person called you. Will this trip be easy? Hell no. Will this trip be worth it? Well, yes, every bit of it. Sip on some freshly brewed ginger tea and let's get started, shall we? And oh yes, wish you a safe trip then, my friend. Thank you. Please take good care of yourself. Stay safe and bye-bye.
I would call the Jaipur Literature Festival a living library, or perhaps even a library of life. Do join us as we share the excitement of ideas and of debate and dialogue, of the adventures of science, of the joys of poetry and music, the consolations of philosophy, the sense of literature and of life.
So much about the festival in India, the scale of it, the energy of it, and I just love the fact that there is this effort to bring it to other cities in the world.
It's a variety of topics. It's meaningful. I'm just excited. I'm feeling like I've learned a lot to think about, and I appreciate JLF coming here.
Going forward, it would be a very good thing to do for the community to have this event on an annual basis.
I think that when you hear so many different voices and perspectives about the South Asian diaspora and many other issues, you learn that there's a lot of history that you're not taught every day, and I think that that's important to bring in today's world.
I was actually really surprised by the camaraderie I experienced here and the way that people at JLF, both attendees and other panelists, seem to really connect profoundly to literature and care about it.
In 2020, our live version of JLF has been laid to waste because of COVID-19. However, nothing's going to stop us from coming in the way of bringing our writers and speakers to you in Boulder, Colorado, Houston, New York, and Toronto, Canada.
Teamwork Arts, bringing India to the world and the world to India through Indian art and culture for over 30 years. One of Teamwork Arts' signature events, the Z Jaipur Literature Festival is the world's largest free festival of its kind. With daily interactive sessions, lively debate and dialogue, and international music performances every night, it's no wonder the festival attracts over 500,000 visitors a year. The Jaipur Bookmark, an international B2B event for the publishing industry, happens during the Z Jaipur Literature Festival and sees a confluence of publishers, writers, and literary agents. Teamwork Arts, producers of the Z Jaipur Literature Festival, have taken the flavor of the festival to international shores with vibrant events in the UK, Australia, and the US. Teamwork Arts takes India's artistic diversity to the world with almost 12 festivals of India across continents in a stunning array in over 40 cities. A feast for the senses, these are spectacles of dance, music, cinema, theatre, literature, and so much more. In each of these places, Teamwork Arts' colourful festivals of India are the high points of the annual cultural calendars, be it Confluence in Australia, India by the Bay in Hong Kong, India by the Nile in Egypt, Iron India in Chicago, Shared History in South Africa, India in the Sunshine City in Zimbabwe, Edinburgh Fringe Festival, Kala Utsavam in Singapore, Sarang in South Korea, festivals in Abu Dhabi, Shanghai, Sweden. The list is dizzying. The Jazz India Circuit is an endeavour by Teamwork Arts to spread the word and sound of jazz across the country. The 2017-18 season, 4 festivals across 3 cities featuring over 25 stellar artists from India and around the world, including Jojo Mayer and Nerve, drummer-singer Jameson Ross, and Dave Weckl, who collaborated with the talented Mohini Day. The Mahindra Kabira Festival celebrates the spirit, lyric and verse of the 15th century mystic poet Kabir in his birthplace, the historic city of Varanasi. Kabir's poetry is about inclusiveness. Mahindra Kabira brings to music lovers an unforgettable experience of listening to leading exponents of the classical Banaras Gharana and rich folk traditions of music on the legendary banks of the mighty river Ganges, along with sessions on art and literature, specially curated walks with famous local residents and delectable local cuisine. Sacred celebrates the spiritual through music and its ability to heal. International artists collaborate with world music exponents from India amongst the most incredible desert settings on the banks of the Pushkar Lake. Heritage walks, meditation, talks and workshops are part of this weekend experience. Teamwork Arts so promotes and recognizes the best of Indian theatre through the Mahindra Excellence in Theatre Awards. The Meta Week in Delhi is an enthralling showcase of the 10 best nominated plays shortlisted from numerous entries received from across the country and across languages. The Meta Lifetime Achievement Award has been presented to leading lights of India's theatre industry. For the young and the young at heart, the Ishara International Puppet Theatre Festival brings local and international performances to audiences across several Indian cities. While the Multi-City Kahani Festival features interactive storytelling sessions and workshops championing the power of imagination. Bollywood Love Story, a musical. Our international touring productions such as Bollywood Extravaganza and Flamenco India have sold out shows across Europe, Egypt, Russia and Spain. Expressions International Contemporary Dance Festival showcases Indian and international productions, bringing together several dance genres for Indian audiences. Teamwork Arts, celebrating the arts. For more information, visit www.teamworkarts.com.
You know, I don't think we really create community so much as provide a space for community to evolve. What Imprint does is offer a space where you can easily integrate reading and literature and writing into your everyday life.
For 38 seasons, we've presented nearly 400 of the great writers, winners of every major award from 35 countries, an inclusive array of voices and styles, in a series accessible to all. Thank you for accompanying us on the journey.
I'm glad to be here to celebrate with you the wonder of a big room full of people who love books.
To have a truly just and equal society, at least when it comes to storytelling and representation, means that we have many, many voices from many, many different experiences.
I really enjoy reading out loud. I really enjoy being read to. It's a bit of a parenthesis in our very hectic, fast, noisy, everyday.
When I was growing up, you were a black kid, there were two stereotypes about you. You were going to be the coolest kid in the room or the toughest kid in the room. But the truth is, we're also weirdos. We get to be weirdos too. It's important that you know that everybody deserves the opportunity to be as strange and weird as they want to be.
They're reading on their own. They're starting to value what a book means to them. And so to then meet the author, ask questions, get a book signed by the author, it can be a really inspiring thing for a kid that age.
This is my path, but I want to make sure that the path is as wide as a highway for you. Whatever your dream is, your dreams can come true. Because I know they came true for me.
Hey. Hi. How are you? Good. How are you? Is that a poem? Yes. Yeah, what do you want a poem about? Daylight savings. And what's your name?
Well, the Inprint Poetry Buskers were created to take poetry out into the streets via poets armed with typewriters, writing poems by request on whatever topic people would dream up. It's great for the poets. They get to exercise their chops, but it also is a miracle for the recipient of these poems. A poem that's written for them is the first time that's ever happened to them.
The sky was big and pink this morning, the first morning of a new part of the year, when we all woke up earlier than we used to.
How do we balance both the writing that we do with all the other things we focus in on as well?
You have to find the rhythm that works for you. I always feel like people want like the magic recipe for how to make this work.
Empowering people to tell their stories is at ground zero what we're all about.
Her dad was our only sibling of 4 ever to get divorced.
I'm the workshop leader, facilitator of the Finnegan Park Creative Writing Group. We meet once a week and we get together and we write. They just have so much experience and so much storytelling instinct already that it's not coming in and trying to explain the basics of story. It's really just finding avenues for them to tell their stories.
My job is to educate minority communities about cancer prevention. Writing has helped me not only be just a better writer, but also a better communicator.
I was a dental officer in the Army. As a veteran, I realized that it was really important to start to process a lot of experiences that I had. And writing has been a very healthy way for me to be able to reconnect with memory and experiencing my humanity.
Because of the way the carceral system works, they have, for their own survival, been forced into a worldview that's very black and white. One of the goals of this class is to present sort of another option for them, and that there are gray areas and there is nuance and there is complexity, and there's not always a right and a wrong answer. And I think a poetry class gives them an opportunity to be correct in whatever choices they make.
When I first came to Houston, it was very stressful financially. Obviously, moving costs a ton of money. I didn't know that Imprint was giving us money. And they said, oh, we have a check for you. And I said, no, you've got the wrong person. I didn't win anything. And they said, you're Caitlin Weiss, right? And I said, yeah. And they said, the check is for you. It just was an unbelievable gift to me. Like someone was saying, I believe in you and your art. I'm glad you came here. Let me help you stay.
If people are empowered to tell their stories, somehow they have control of the narrative and they can change their lives and maybe make the city a better place too. I know that's ridiculously idealistic, but I like it.